Alrighty, hello. This video is going to be about building an API based on OpenAPI and out of RPG using a web server called Elastic and a JSON parser called NoxDB. Now, this is a full demo. I've already gone ahead and designed this very simple API which returns an object of returns a list of users basically to the API. Fairly simple. That's all it takes to get started. So I've already put the YAML. I'm going to do this again. I've already put the YAML onto my IBMI, and I'm going to run the generator here. But first of all, I need to make a new folder called web apps inside of my Elastic directory. There it is. I think I'm actually going to call it web app is what I should have called it. Yeah. I'll just delete it. Try again. Or although I could have just moved it, but anyway, web app. Waboo. Let's do it again. This is a great start. Web app. There we go. Now let's go ahead and delete Waboo. Yes. Okay, let's run the generator here. So this is going to take the YAML that we have and it's going to generate these files. The most important one that we'll start off with is webapp.rpgle. This is the web server actually. So we have our main function, which is actually where the router is defined, what port it runs on, so on and so forth. And then for each route, there's a function. So for example, we have our /users. Again, this is generated from our stoplight. So we have a /users endpoint, our open API spec, and therefore we have a /users route here. And then there is a get users function. That's the operation ID from the spec. And then by default, it's just sending a successful request and invalid request. Now, notice that it's also calling this validate users function. Well, that doesn't actually do anything because if we look at validation, there is a validate get users procedure, but it just returns on because there's nothing to validate. It's a blank, request. It's just a get request with nothing to it. Very simple. And there's also an into and a from. Now, what they do allows us to manipulate structures from our OpenAPI. So it's also generated this structs.rpgle. So if you remember in Stoplight, we actually have a structure for our return 200 OK return. We have an object which contains a user's property which contains an array of objects. Okay, so in the structs file, we actually have data structures to replicate that structure, that JSON schema. So we'll start off with the base, which is our get users 200 response template, and it has a user's length and a user's data structure array, which again points at this data structure ID, which up here, which has our ID and our username, again, which comes directly from our spec. So really, this is doing a lot of the work for us. Then the real use case for using the structure is that in our from file, we have the code to convert a data structure back to a NoxDB JSON schema. So we can actually send back a data structure as as a JSON response. Now, luckily for us, it just does all the work for us. So we just have to write the code for it, just like any other framework. So let's go ahead and just do a declare ds response 200 is like ds, and then I'll take the name of the data structure from the other file. Is in from. No, it's in our structs. This is the base, so we'll take that and put it there. That's our data structure right there. And then the next piece that we're going to do is simply actually return information. So instead of us doing this JSON set string, we can just get rid of that here. And what we're going to do is fairly simple. If we look at our structs, we're just going to say response 200 dot users len. Now, of course, this could be, you could actually return a list of users from, a database or something. But I'll just do user len equals 1, and then we'll say response 200 dot users. And then the first element is going to be, and then ID, we'll just make it number, we'll make it 100 just for the sake of it. or we'll make it 123 actually. And then of course we also had a username piece. So you know, 200 users username, which is a pointer because NoxDB stores its strings in pointers. So we're going to use that too. And for that, we're just going to copy this, paste it below, and we're going to say user name equals alloc, and we'll just do, let's just say 6 for now. And then we'll actually write to it. So we'll do this. We're going to do %str that, and then 6. That's how many. That's the 5 characters plus the null terminate string equals Barry. Okay, fairly simple. And then we're going to do L response equals. This is the JSON document. We're actually going to use the variable, the procedure from the from document, and we're just going to pass in our response 200 to that. And we're going to save it. Now I'm going to try and compile it. Hopefully it compiles first time. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it is, but oh, that's because the CCS ID of the file is wrong. So we're just going to change that there. Response users, and let's run it again. We got compiled successfully, which is great. So now we're going to, I'm just going to make sure that I have no other jobs running. Great. Because of course I was testing this earlier. So I'm going to submit a new job. I'm just going to give it a different name. I'm going to call it demo web app. Just run it. Still work job demo web app. And it is running. Cool, we're running. That's lovely. So now if we actually go to a system and we go siding group and then the port number, which is 8129/users. Now we have users. I mean, it didn't take very much. That was all from RPG. Now what I'm going to do for the sake of it is also add in a couple more. So what I'll do, I'll just set the users to 2. What you could do is of course set it to 0 and then increment for each one. I'll just say plus equals 1. I'll just do another one too. Let's do 1, 2, 4. We'll allocate 5 this time for a shorter name. And I'll just put Beth, for example. And that'll do. So let's save. Let's recompile. We have to restart our server here, of course. Let's do a 41 star emed. And that's ended. Now that was it. Very simple. Then we just start it back up again. Boom. Let's go and refresh our page. I've got a lovely internal server error. But we did get at least one. Now maybe I just did something wrong, and that's because I didn't give the correct index there. Let's go ahead and recompile that. Let's go and end job demo app star emed. Oh, demo web app star emed. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to assume it's down now. Yep. Let's go and start it back up. Okay, there we go, and now I have my 2 users. So as you can see, I really didn't have to change very much code to get it to work. Now, what's really interesting is that I could also make one more change. I'm just going to rename my web app here. I'm going to call it web app real. No, I'm not. I'm going to call it web app. Let's just call it web app 2. Yeah, save the effort. Now the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm actually going to regenerate the app. What we're going to do is we're going to add a very simple user count, or let's just not even do that. Let's just say length, and let's say number, and this will be, you know, the number of users that come back. Very simple, you know, doesn't take a lot to do that. And all I'm going to do is run the generator again, and of course we're still going to keep our web app 2. That's important to know, is that our web app is now web app 2. So I'm going to just do the end job again. End job demo web app 41. Oh, did I do it wrong? Okay, that was easy. So when I'm ready and I prompt this, I'll just put 2 in there, call it a day. So that's actually regenerated a lot of code that we had. So if I look at these structs again, we'll see, oh, it didn't do it. That's because I didn't take the YAML from the web browser here over to the YAML that's on my IBMI. I can just drop in and replace it. And then I can regenerate. So if I close the structs and then reopen the structs, we can then see I have a length. Of course, I could use user's length, but that's used internally for the count. So now I have length property, which is cool. And really, all I'm going to do for this, it's pretty damn straightforward. Response 200.length equals user's len. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and save that now, and I'm going to compile it. Compiled successfully. Okay, that really is how simple it is to add stuff to your web app. And of course, that means just because the struct was updated, our from function was also updated. So if I fix this up here, we also have our length here too. It's JSON set num to the document of length, and that's our property. Close that. Don't save, that's fine. Anyway, we have our web app now, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. Let's go over to our API. Now we have a length. Boom. That was pretty cool, actually. Now this isn't the, if we wanted to view the source, the button doesn't work on this browser, but there we go. I mean, we have valid JSON being returned from an RPG web server. Now, of course, what this could be your program call, so on and so forth. But it does all the JSON for you, which is cool. And of course, if you were using validation, it would do all the validation for you as well. So that was pretty much what I had to say. Thanks very much for watching.